Root for our home team. Another Pirates generation. Everybody shout, let's go. I think I got it right. Didn't I?
What's the last part?
I don't know. I had to look up the lyrics. New Pirates generation. Everybody shout, let's go, Bucks. Take me out to where the Pirates play. That's brutal. And you don't need to hear me singing.
Did they play that in Boston?
They didn't play that in Boston, but that's why I started off singing it. I heard Sweet Caroline. I heard of a lot of the Dropkick Murphys. And here come your 2023 Pittsburgh Pirates. And, man, they look good for it. Jason Mackey, Michael Mckenry, you're listening to Pitching In. Thank you so much for finding us on however you find your podcasts. And this is our season preview. We had Brownie on last week to sort of ramp us up, whatever, to opening day. And we are leading into the home opener, but we have 2 series to dissect for it. I'm in Boston. I have a flight tomorrow morning. I just watched the Pirates sweep the Red Sox at Fenway Park. And I didn't look this up, pardon me. Did you ever play at Fenway?
I did, and I was on the taxi squad, and they were so generous. It made me sit in the stands and sit behind a pole. And you know exactly what I mean. Like, there's some terrible seats. I mean, the historic stadium, but me and Drew Sutton, he was former Pirate.
This is at the Pirates?
No. This is with Boston.
Okay.
So, and taxi squad back then was, hey, don't conversate with anybody with a notepad, anybody that looks baseball or official, because you don't exist.
Yeah.
There was no pay. There was no, you're really on the taxi squad. It's like, hey, show up and shut your mouth. So that's what we did. We took our wives and we're sitting behind a pole enjoying what baseball we could see.
You would think they'd give the obstructed view seats to the fans, not the players.
Well, I think they just wanted me to be like Waldo. Like, nobody knows who I am. And why would they give a guy that's on the roster that could possibly be playing tomorrow a seat behind
and hide you behind a pole? That was their strategy?
I'm telling you, I need to ask Ben Sherrington that question. Like, did you put me behind the pole? Right? You're the one that called. Did you put me behind the pole? He also put me up in a hotel room for 4 nights in Texas and told me not to leave. They do things a little different back in the day. You know, there's big
like at all?
No, I literally
out of the weight room or something.
I literally was like, I've never made an opening day roster. I just got traded there. And he was like, yeah, just go there and wait. We'll tell you what's going on with Veritek. I'm like, okay. Day 1, day 2. I'm like, I probably had a BlackBerry at the time, not an iPhone. And I said, hey, am I okay? He's like, we're going to buy a flight tomorrow. Veritek's good to go. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm going to go back to spring training and then off to AAA. Thought I was going to make the opening day roster. No big deal. I didn't even get no money, I don't think.
So is that literally how that works? Like,
yeah, it's all under the radar. Like,
no, but now I get that part of it. But when you have a question, you're asking like, what the heck's going on? You literally texted like Charrington?
I texted whoever was the traveling secretary.
Okay.
Whether it was I don't remember if it's the big leagues or the minor league guy, but yeah, there was a group of people and then someone took the lead in each situation. Yeah. Mackie, one time I was in extended spring training with Texas and I was like, dude, I'm healthy. I just left and went to Round Rock. I made the team out of camp. Nobody told me that I didn't make the team or I was on the IL. My agent couldn't find me on paperwork. So I was like, that means I didn't make the team. I'm going to AAA. So I just drove to AAA and showed up, and on the way there, I called the farm director and told him I was on my way. He was like, "Oh, we thought you had at least another week." He's like, "All right, I'll let him know." But I only had like 3 weeks until my opt out. I was like, I got to get out there and play. So yeah, sometimes the communication is awful. But man, I was so stoked to sit in that hotel room, but I didn't sleep for 3 days.
So this is something, I mean, I'm around the game a lot. I've obviously never been on the playing side, but it's something that even I don't, and I'm sure fans don't think about, is this transition period right now. Guys that didn't necessarily know they were going to be on the big league roster and that they're there. Like, I think of Rob Zastryzny. Like, Rob Zastryzny wasn't renting a place in Pittsburgh, but he's going to Pittsburgh. He's in Pittsburgh right now. I would imagine he's just getting a hotel room. There are several guys getting hotel rooms till they figure it out. But it's like, you don't have your belongings. You don't really have any means to get your belongings. You're just kind of there, and you might have a spouse with you. And it's just, man, that is such a weird life dynamic thing to think about, where, you know, if I go somewhere, like, I've got to think about 2 kids and a wife and a dog and a tortoise and all this stuff.
A tortoise?
A tortoise, yeah.
You have a turtle?
No, I have a tortoise, as my 9-year-old will often correct me. Yes, it's his. It's a tortoise named Lego. My son is very into building Legos. So,
I love it.
So we have a tortoise named Lego. And at some point on the podcast, now that I'm back in, well, I'm almost back in Pittsburgh. I'm in Boston, which is a separate story altogether. I will introduce everybody to Lego, because I see we're introduced to your dog.
Yeah, he came and he's gonna pass out now. He loves this chair.
I love.
He loves this chair. It's his chair, always.
Nice.
That's where he'll be there literally the whole time. He loves this little leather chair. But what you were saying, I'm gonna give my wife a lot of credit. You rely on them, especially back in the day, because you really had no help. And a guy like Rob Z, I can't say his last name. I get it wrong every time. So
you got to do it. You got to do it. Zastrizny. You can do it. Zastrizny.
Zastrizny. Is that pretty good?
Zastrizny. Yep.
I'll call him Neezy. So
call him Z.
Z. I like Z. I just feel like ZZ Top would be probably cool for him, and probably listens to him. He's a ZZ Top fan.
I'm gonna start charting how many press boxes try to say Zastrizny and how many get it wrong. Right now, we've been in Great American Ballpark and Fenway Park, and they've both butchered it. 6 for 6 when they announced that Zastrizny is, or I guess he hasn't pitched in 6 games, but you know, every time he's come in, they've butchered his name.
Every time they get it right, I'll give $5 to a charity of our choice. Okay, $5.
All right. I mean, does that count at PNC Park? Because I think Patrick Courish.
Oh, crap! I already threw it out there. Sure. Sure. Crap. I just got myself. Anyways, it's for a good cause. Either way. But I want to go back to my wife. She would literally. I remember when I got traded to Pittsburgh. I called her. I was stoked. I put all the groceries back, which was kind of strange, but I felt like I should. And I left. And I was living in Polly Pockets Playland. I don't know if I've told you that before. It's an attic of someone's house that I never met, living with another dude with my wife. It was really strange. The refrigerator, for you, this is probably normal because you're so tall. For me, I've never seen a refrigerator that I'm taller than, unless it's like a dorm refrigerator, right? Like a mini fridge. Their real fridge was like maybe 4'4". Yeah. Right. And I was like, okay. And I felt like I was going to eventually go through the floor at some point. And I did break our air conditioning unit that fell out the window, because I didn't know that actually happened when you open the window. So if you ever seen the movie Happy Gilmore, yeah. Killed the Mr. lady. Yeah, I killed her. I did. So all that happens within about a month and a half of me living there with Daniel Nava and my wife. She goes home. I get called up, or I get traded and called up to Pittsburgh, and super stoked and blah, blah, blah. And then it just all hits you at once. It's like our
an
car's here. Yeah, like I was the Mr. lady. The air conditioner hits me. Then it's like, oh no. Hey, we're going to have to get you a flight back here, and you're going to have to grab the stuff and pack us up and meet me in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And guess what? She did, and she got there for what she could. So she flew to Pittsburgh first and then went back. But that's the reality. Now it's a lot different with the minor leagues having a union. Now they literally get their housing paid for. It's almost better when it comes to certainty of where you're going to live and all those different things when you're in the minor leagues. But Z right now has 7 and 7 rights. So he gets 7 days of meal money and 7 days in the hotel to figure it out. And a lot of times certain teams now actually work with really good agents that get you in places, and they pretty much all live in a window. A lot of them live in the Strip District or over there on the South Side.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better than it has been, but used to it's just like fend for your own. And I would hate to ask anyone that played before 2000, because they'd be like, oh, let me tell you about my days. I used to live in my car. Got paid $12 an hour in the big leagues. Huh?
You just did that. You told me about living in an attic.
I loved it. Except the Mr. Lady. God rest your soul.
All right, so you're not complaining. You were just telling me about it.
No, those are the best stories.
No, they really are.
They really are. Like I thought it was a blast. I mean, I remember my clothes broke the closet, and I came up and pretended I was a ninja somehow. Like, when you wake up and you don't really know what's going on. I literally came up like I was Karate Kid, and my wife goes, "Oh, that was terrifying. You would have got him."
Yeah.
Like, thanks. You're 5 foot, 100 pounds. Shh.
All right. Let's talk a little baseball, because we did have a fascinating series here in Boston. The Buccos are playing well, man. I'll tell you what. I loved what Mitch Keller did today. I've loved the offense from various places. Good to see Carlos Santana get going. Brian Reynolds, I need to check whether he actually got on the plane or not. I could see him not wanting to leave here. Mr. Reynolds is clearly in a zone, a nice zone. We'll talk about the face situation. We should also talk about the Brian Reynolds contract, but I want to just get your initial impressions first off of the Red Sox series and some of what you saw.
I think the first thing I want you to do is explain what it's like in Boston. Like the very first night there, some mishaps. Obviously the wind was blowing, but like every time you watch a game, especially the guys that haven't played there, you're going to see guys drop balls, miscommunicate, make errors because of the intensity there. And I want you were just there. It's early April, packed house, Sweet Caroline. So take it away.
Yeah. So I've never been there. This is my first time in Fenway for a game. When I was covering the Penguins, I was up here for a game at TD Garden, and I don't know if it was like after a morning skate before something happened that I took a tour of Fenway. So I saw the whole thing, but I had never seen it for an actual game. And you're absolutely right for it. I mean, it's a different environment than most other baseball stages. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's all the green or I like one of the coolest.
It's also haunted, no doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. There's some actual like real Field of Dreams style players there haunting it. Absolutely.
Well, it's so small, like compact, even in the press box, like we're hanging. I heard Walkie talking about this on the radio broadcast. Like it's almost like in hockey, a lot of times you're hanging over one of the ends. Montreal is famous for this, but I mean, you're like hanging over home plate. You're just on top of the action, and the fans are also on top of the action. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's the colors, the way it's lit. You're in downtown. I guess it's downtown Boston. I don't. It all seems like downtown to me.
It's just Fenway to me. I mean, it's like its own little city, like Wrigley.
Yeah. I guess that. But I don't know how Boston natives how far downtown stretches. But in any case, like you're in a very busy part, a very Boston-y part. And I mean their fans are awesome, dude. Like they're intense, they're nasty, they're screaming things, like they're reacting to stuff the way fans should react to it. You can tell like baseball matters here. There's high stakes. I think there are situations, and I mean PNC Park is guilty of this sometimes, like late in the season when the Pirates are out of it, where it doesn't feel like a super intense, super high leverage or whatever environment. And think of the exact opposite of that, and that's what you get at Fenway. That's what you get at Yankee Stadium. It's it feels like a playoff game in April. I would equate it to going to a hockey game in Montreal, where it's never not incredible to go to Bell Center because how much people put into it, how it's done, how it's presented, sight lines from seats. I explain in hockey, like literally everybody is sitting there watching quiet. Like you can hear the stick or hear the puck from like tape to tape. It's not quite that way in baseball. I mean, it's different. You hear idle chatter and whatever, but anyway, the intensity is very high.
Yeah. And they've done a really good job with some of the new age stuff too, with the lights and everything else. Yeah. That's so cool to see that they're bringing that.
They're there, but without being obnoxious.
That's cool. I think Wrigley did a great job with that too. I think not ruining the historic meaning behind it and allowing like even these guys, I'm sure it didn't look like the locker room had changed much on the visiting side. They just redid the home side, but like the home side used
glorified closet for it.
Yeah. So like that's what it was, right? we're used to having space. Back in the day, they didn't have space.
Yeah.
And it used to be 2 stories for the home side. So it was really unique and really different. So like, it's cool because you get to look back and say, wow, like it was just so different. I mean, first time I walked into Wrigley and I'm walking through the crowd, right? To get to the clubhouse, it was just different. You're just so close. And I think it's so awesome for the fans because the intimacy of the game is so special.
Yep.
So that's really cool. I wanted you to do that because I don't think people sometimes get how cool that place is. And it's literally always like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're pretty fair. They're pretty hard at times too. But man, the fans just eat it up. But it looked like Boston was Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh was Boston there. It looked like they switched in my mind because you saw the chaos. You saw the frantic errors and the mishaps. And it looked like they were going to drop 3 or 4 pop-ups.
Yep.
And I'm going to highlight the actual playing now. It's because the chaos we put together on the base pass.
Yep.
We're getting down the line every single time. We're hopping around, timing pitchers. Sometimes we go, sometimes we wouldn't. Just the different type and different style we're playing opposed to last year. And we were just talking off air about opening day. There's only going to be 6 guys from last year's team on that opening day roster. And I think it was evident in this series just based on the slow heartbeat and the absolute chaos they created over and over and over again. The double steal, we won game 2 pretty much because of a strikeout and a pass ball. It seemed like we took advantage of every mistake and how often we've been on that other side the last couple of years. So it's good to see that. It's good to see the bounce back from Keller for me today. I thought he fell in love with his new toy, that cutter. He wanted to throw it way too much. It was somewhere in the 35, almost 40 percentile, if I believe I'm correct. And then he didn't throw that breaking ball to slow everything down. So he's got that small window where as a hitter, I'm just absolutely joyed that he's not throwing a breaking ball in that sweeper consistently. And that's in Cincinnati. Man, he came out and just locked down and away, getting an extension with that fastball. They were getting this far off the plate the entire time, him and Delay just piggybacking each other and playing games. Keller holding on guys till 1 second, the fake shakes. It looked like they were in each other's heads, and they had one of the best game plans I've ever seen him have, and it was intense. And the emotion he showed when that home run was overturned, that's a horse. That's your donkey. And you got to see him come out today, and I loved it.
Yep. With no sleeves, by the way. I loved it.
Listen, let's talk about this for 1 second. No Cruz has his little fanny pack, right? Mm-hmm. It's a fanny pack. It doesn't warm up your hands at 65 degrees in Boston, 58 degrees in Boston. What was today? What was today?
Bro, 41 degrees.
41? That's a cool 41? Summer day.
That's a damn winter for it. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's from what? He's from Iowa. He probably doesn't own a pair of sleeves.
Oh, yeah, Mitch.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but the first couple days,
judging anybody for having layers on, I'd have some layers on.
I wore leggings when it was 110. Like, whatever. It is what it is. I'm just saying,
tights.
Huh?
Leggings or tights?
Well,
you going to Lululemon and buy?
If I was Peter Pan, right? I'd wear tights.
That's what you seem to say.
Well, if I could fly, I'd say tight. Well, yeah, I wore tights. I guess leggings.
Tricky language there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thanks for throwing me out there. Yeah. Yeah, but I thought it was 30 degrees the first couple of nights, and I said, "Hey, Jack, what's the degrees?" I watched the game from home the other night, and she goes, 60. I was like, "What? What?"
60 where you are.
I thought it was 60 in Boston. I may have got it wrong, but
no,
they were playing like it was, a great spring day, how hot they were. So what does it matter?
Bro, it's been 41 today, 50 yesterday, 50 the day before.
I'd still rather play there than San Fran
45,
in the middle of the summer.
61.
Did you hear me? I'd rather play there right now than San Fran in the middle of summer. It's like playing on an iceberg. I don't know why. It feels like it cuts through you because you get this 100-degree, awesome, no humidity BP, balls flying. And then all of a sudden, the terrain of that water comes over you, the marine, whatever they call it. And it's
the marine layer.
green layer. It's 50 degrees and you're freezing.
Yeah.
And it's July 2nd. It's crazy.
I will not have you talk negatively about San Francisco, though, my friend. You know enough about me.
I didn't say anything about the team. I was a huge.
I know. I don't care about the team. I care about the city.
Okay, calm down. All right.
All right. Anyway,
cool city.
I was rustling around here as you were saying that because I've been impressed by how much the Pirates have moved around on the bases, and they're 7 for 7 on stolen base attempts this year. I think that's an important thing. One of 3 teams with at least 5 and none caught stealing entering today's game. So they're running a lot and they're running smart too. That's been a takeaway for me. And they've been doing this for it with guys that are kind of off the slow starts too.
Right.
Like, I like Key Bryan's bunt. I was good with it. I thought it was perfect execution. But, he hasn't exactly looked the way he has in spring, and that's okay. And Santana, up until today, really hasn't done much of anything. Choi has not gotten going. Reynolds has been out of his mind. Hedges is on the concussion. I get the concussion injury IL.
Hey, will you go and what happened? I went back and tried to find when he got hit, and he must have just wore it and kept going.
Yeah, he wore it, kept going. It was a foul tip from Newman on Sunday.
Okay. I knew it had to be a foul tip because anything else.
I don't remember what inning off the top of my head.
Okay. Does he have I couldn't tell if he had much of a history there with concussions.
I don't believe so.
Okay, good.
And he doesn't. I'm very careful to not speculate with concussion stuff because I don't know. Nobody knows. It's just whatever. But I mean, like I saw him talking to a lot of people, coaches, players, seemingly interactive. Obviously that doesn't mean he's fully cleared, but it also doesn't mean that he is, having trouble holding a conversation or reacting to things or being in a crowded room or whatever. So, I mean, anyway, wouldn't shock me if Hedges gets back soon. I don't think he has a too terribly huge history of them. I think everybody has had 1 or 2, but I don't think it's a huge problem. And you know what else has impressed me for it? This is a little bit sideways of what we were talking about, but the bullpen has been so darn good.
Wow.
I really liked what they've done today, up until today. I've liked how Bednar has looked. I think Holderman can be an 8th inning guy for them. Absolutely. We were talking earlier about Rob Z. Rob Zastrisny, I will say. Dari Moreta is not quietly at all becoming one of the
right here, baby. Give me that money, baby.
Money Moreta.
Money Moreta.
Unbelievable. He's so fun, dude. He is so fun.
Yeah, I mean, and that gyro slider. So like he legitimately, if anybody wants to know what a gyro slider is, just watch him throw. It looks like a changeup, but it's a slider because it spins like a rifle bullet and it just drops. It doesn't have any lateral movement. Every now and then it does, but man, I was just like in awe of it. I was like, is that changeup? Nope. Slider. Is that changeup? Nope. But he has a really good changeup too.
Yep.
And his intensity, it's like, all right, I'm going to walk this guy to make it a little harder, and then I'm going to punch some tickets.
Yeah.
It's great. It's absolutely great.
Yep. No, he's been fantastic. And the bullpen, I believe, 1.77 ERA
That's
over
correct.
20 1/3 innings. I looked that up post game. But they've been outstanding. I mean, Mitch pitched like an ace to sort of circle back on that
But
one.
you forgot one of my favorites.
What?
The one everybody's been waiting for the ability to come out. The guy that closed the game today, Underwood.
Oh, DUJ.
Taking that 4-seamer, throwing it in the trash, throwing sinkers, and making that 4-seamer that always cut, and he couldn't figure out how to keep in the zone and make it a true pitch.
Yep.
When base hit went, even though I wish Bednar would have closed, I want him to get
3 days in a row this early.
The reason is here. I'll tell you why. Because you want to create that standard now, because every game could matter at some point, and he didn't throw many pitches. These guys have been so efficient. Like if you looked at the chart, Underwood threw 5 pitches, and I think Z threw 8. And that's pretty much what Bednar did the night before. I think he threw 12. I'm not sure.
Up.
No. Today I'm 100% sure. 8 and 5.
Okay.
They're being super efficient. And the reason why I wish they let Bednar do that is because if it didn't go the way it did, there is a psychological factor to that. on all sides. Because if he could throw, which he could, I don't think he needs to throw 2 innings of 50 pitches like he did last year when he did hurt himself. But I do think when it's a save situation, I want the Renegade, unless it's day 4 and he's tired and it's July. But like, you want to give him every save chance because that's who he is. Like, he's our new Joel Hanrahan. Give him the ball. Give him the ball. 1 inning. Give him the ball. And I wasn't mad about Underwood, but I do want to see that 3 in a row at some point because you've seen how they've thrown Z. Eventually, that's where it goes all the time. And then winning baseball and winning teams, he's going to throw 3 in a row, period.
Yeah.
And I hope they take the training wheels off and let him go because he was literally out there going like this. You could see him. He wanted to pitch so bad, but then he becomes this huge teammate and's rooting on his guys, which I absolutely love. So Underwood, outstanding. I love what he's done with the stuff. He worked extremely hard to get the shapes right and everything else. And what Bednar's doing with that split this year, I'm so excited because he's literally a new guy for me. The way he's using his split, he's throwing more often. He's throwing to right-handers, and it's just an absolute nasty pitch.
I don't have any issue with it. I'm going to disagree with you.
No, I get it. I just want it to change at some point this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a time and place for it. For me, it's not April 5th. Seeing what happened when that bullpen got hurt last year, and I think they got a little too aggressive having Bednar get 6-out saves and all that stuff. I mean, he can, but we saw what happens. And
but that was a learning experience, and you cut that off. And now, let's see if he can, throw 45 pitches in 3 days. That's what it would have possibly been. And I get it early on. It's just that that trend needs to die at some point for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will die if it's necessary. I would hope that if this series was played in July, it's handled differently, assuming the Pirates are, I don't know, not 30 games under 500 or something ludicrous by that point.
But if he's never done it and he does it in July and he fails, that's always been the trend for me when I watch this. I remember it in Colorado. I remember it so many different times. It's like they never do it. And it's like biggest moment ever. Let's do it. And if it fails, it's one of these moments you're like, uh-oh, are they going to be okay?
You rehearse for everything. I mean, that's like saying anything that's important, we need to rehearse it first.
No, I just say win today. Worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's off. That's why I want him to pitch.
Yeah.
Either way, I get it. I'm just saying I hope it changes.
Yeah. Well,
and for him too, it's going to benefit him in the long run. More saves, better for Bednar.
Yeah, no, I get that. I also like with a 3-run lead, you should have somebody else you should be able to go to in that situation.
Agreed with that too. And I was wondering who it would be.
And if your bullpen's worth its salt, which I would hope this one is, somebody steps up, and Dwayne did, and he did a great job. And
great job.
I hope to me that shows a lot. Whether Bednar's down, Holderman's down, maybe somebody just doesn't have their stuff. I don't know, but I mean, I have a lot more confidence seeing Dwayne how he handled that situation. Like, we saw it in spring, and that's great. But to me, it matters infinitely more seeing this to close out a win versus seeing it in a Grapefruit League game. He does what he did today.
No doubt.
Do it again, man. Do it again.
No doubt. And you have to test that water too. That's why I say it's my opinion in the sense of I was fine either way. I just don't want that trend to ever happen. I want them, when they see the green light, I want them to hit the gas pedal so hard, and it has to happen earlier, not later. I knew Holderman would be shut down, right? They absolutely make sense. Bednar wasn't sure, and I just want to see how it progresses. I'll tell you right now, when DeLay didn't play the game after he had, he played that first one, I was like, why is he not playing? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Heineman caught great. It had nothing to do with Heineman. It was a rhythm. But then next day, I'm looking into all the numbers. I'm like, great move. He works incredibly well with Mitch. His ERA is right around 2.5 over 12 games. Everyone else has almost close to a 5. So it's there's always a reason. It's just I want to see the movement and see how it's going to play out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's always about the guy that's literally playing the game. And I know Bednar wanted to pitch, and I know last year he was wanting to pitch for that 2 innings, knowing it wasn't good for him.
Yeah.
And that's where that balance comes in. I think they're figuring that out, and I'm excited to see where it ends up.
You know what else really stood out to me for it, and this is in that same discussion, is what Shelton didn't do with Mitch Keller.
Oh my gosh, twice.
Yep. Like, I can't believe I watched Derek Shelton give a kid a chance. And I have no issue with this. I totally agree with the line of thinking. I would have done the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. But, gave Mitch a chance to get out of that, to finish it, to put his stamp on 7 innings and say, like, this is my start. This is my day's work. I'm up over 100 pitches. Let him, see if you can get out of it. You earned that. Like, dude, 2 years ago, he would have been out. I don't know when the last base runner was 80 pitches, probably.
To me, that's one.
Yeah, you know what? When he walked Verdugo in the 6th, that would have been the old Shelton hook.
No doubt about it. He would have been gone so fast.
Let him get Devers. Let him come out for the 7th. Let him continue Cassis doubles. Let him stay in through that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh man.
Yep. I mean, and there was no matchup game and everything else, and it almost came back and punched us right in the face.
That's right. But that's okay.
That's okay with me.
You're going to ride your horse. You're not going to
ride your horse. Exactly. Okay. I literally said that in the post game today. I said this moment made him the donkey. Right? He's the guy you're riding on, or the mule. Like, I trust that you're going to get me there at some point. Let's go. And that's what all I'm saying is, like, that's what we're going to see this year. We're going to see steps. And it could be leaps for some guys in the right direction. It could be also the opposite way. And with Mitch Keller, for me today, the fact that he got over the balk early on in the ball game, he could not get a feel of the shape and how much his sweeper was moving. But unlike the Cincinnati start, he didn't run from it. He threw it more, but he went to the breaking ball, got the feel back, got on top, and changed that shape. And that changed the entire day. Then brought in the cutter a lot around the 3rd. And it was so fun to watch. And those guys were so panicky how fast he was moving. The 2 timeouts in the 4th and the 5th, I thought it was outstanding. I did a segment where I sped everybody up like 2 times the normal pace and then stopped it when they called time, because that's what it felt like during the game. And that's what it feels like when you're at the plate. When that guy has all the stuff and he's creating the tempo of the game, it feels like you have no shot, right? He's throwing 6 pitches all in the strike zone. He's living on the edges, and then he can literally throw it down the middle because I'm going to miss-hit it because I feel like he's rushing everything I'm doing. Yeah. And that was him in delay being on time. And then, like I told you, I don't know if you noticed this, the fake shakes and Mitch seeing the clock or whatever, having the plan to hold the ball, some slide steps he mixed in there just randomly. It was unbelievable to see how poised he was in a big atmosphere in a huge way after a tough start in Cincinnati. I know he wanted to do better. It just looked like the game plan was off the charts and they were just flowing. There's like a flow state. It was really, really neat to see. And obviously being a catcher, that's one of my favorite things to watch. 2 guys that just seem like they don't even need pitch comm. Just throw it. I'll figure it out as we go. Yeah, I love Keller's pitch mix. I'm going to bring up a couple of things after this and move us on. But 4-seam fastball, 21%, cutter, 21%, curveball, 21%, sinker, 17, sweeper, 13, changeup, 7. I mean, that is a true 6-pitch mix. Man, that's not like I have 6, but I'm only really using 4 and it's using 2, 80% of that. Like, no, that's a real 6-pitch mix, man. I remember Musgrove talking a lot about how hard that is to maintain all of them. And, good job on Mitch. Good job using power. When Musgrove figured it out right before he left and got traded, he realized the power was in the slider, his best pitch, and he needed to go to the cutter more often when the slider wasn't there. It made it tighter. So he used every pitch to help him find the other pitch, and he tried never to rely on one, but knew that he had extra ones. So if one wasn't there, right? Hey, I can't throw a fastball for a strike today. Well, you can sit here and keep trying, or you can throw the pitch you're throwing it for a strike. And with an arsenal like that, you start to learn, and watching him see that early on, his cutter and sweeper were really blending together. He almost killed a guy, threw it almost behind him, and he swung at it. It was a 92-mile-an-hour sweeper. He just got on the side of it. And Mackie, when you're out on the mound, one of the biggest importances is to feel the ball in your hand. How is it coming out? Sometimes you can't even see the shape of it or how it's moving. That's how it came out for me. But but it was cool to see them really figure that out and not give in, especially when you have a huge arsenal, and then balance out that arsenal with my favorite pitch is that breaking ball because it's separator. It's the only pitch that he throws under 80 miles an hour. And when he's geeked up, that sweeper's about 83 to 86. So everything gets in a 7 to 8 mile an hour range. And then he throws that breaking ball. It has to feel like it's never going to get there. And when he's doing that, you're like, these guys have no shot. None.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good, man. It's really
I really
good.
like that.
Rowe
I really
yeah. No, I just don't want to get too stuck on this. I want to get to a lot of other topics, and
no doubt
we could talk all day about what they did throughout the series. It was just fantastic. I really liked Rowe's start. We hit on the bullpen a little bit. O'Neill's home run was massive. Didn't do a ton in the Red Sox series. I think he's going to be okay with the face thing. I'm not terribly worried about that. He looked no worse for wear in the clubhouse. And I believe if it was a concussion, one, he wouldn't be there, and two, it would have told us. So anyway, the guy I want to focus on now is the guy who really was the talk of the series. Among Boston writers, among Boston TV and radio, among people chasing the obvious storyline with his extension, possible extension. We're coming home for the home opener. I would not rule out the possibility of it happening, but I can't say I've also absorbed a bunch of optimism that it will. I don't know, man. It feels like a coin flip right now. I don't think the Pirates are going to budge on the opt-out. You and I have had this conversation for it off the air. I want to have it on the air a little bit to a degree that we can. Again, I've been pretty close to this. I think you're a little, I don't know. You probably are more involved on the player side. I'm more involved on the, player representation and team side. I don't get the sense from talking to either one of them that this is something that's going to get done. But I also hold in the back of my mind that these discussions have gone awry when they have gone to specifically me and told me too much and say, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And, you manipulate things and play them to the media. So anyway, what's your level of optimism in this getting done?
I'm going to ask you a question first.
All right.
He didn't talk about it, and he deflected everything over the last couple of days, right?
Yes, sir.
So I have a theory. I've seen it before. I think it's done.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is I don't know if I've seen him that free in a long time, and there was stress on him all spring.
Yep.
He was tight. Like the swing was great in spring. The movements were great, but he wasn't performing like he could, even in the outfield. And then all of a sudden, the freedom came, and I was like, whoa, that dude looks like life just left him some gift. And I was like, maybe $100 million in 8 years, and I remember, I'll never forget when Kutch signed, the freedom he got, and he came out in 2012, had a huge year. A lot of guys with that type of personality, and especially a guy that, doesn't necessarily want to jump out in the media, doesn't talk about his emotions. He doesn't talk about this at all. He just wants it done and wants freedom to know he's going to be playing, because he wants to win. He wants to play. He wants to keep it as simple as possible. Good old Tennessee boy. He's got his dream home in Tennessee, just built it. Lives the simple life. He just wants to take care of mama and the babies and play baseball. And I think no clue. I have no clue if it's done or not. Haven't talked to him. But I'm telling you right now, my eyes and my brain are saying, man. And I would say the same thing. When you see guys do that, there's something special happening, because that shows to me how much he really did want to be here.
Yeah.
Obviously, anybody smiles with $100 million, but if that's the truth, and maybe they announce on an opening day, and you talk about a historic opening day, announce that AJ Burnett, Kutch back, Russell Martin catching. I'm hoping AJ throws a bender. We talked about it. Him throwing a bender, try to get it past for us. But we'll see. And then I even put out there, because Brett Brown kept talking about, is why not black it out?
I don't know how much you've looked on social media during the course of us recording this podcast, but it's doing very well.
My focus is on you, Mackie. on
Okay,
you.
well,
Right
it
now.
shouldn't be. It
Just
should be
kidding.
on a blackout for opening day for the home opener.
Oh, that's all. I mean, how cool would that be? And you said it. What was it? How many guys? 6 from last year?
6.
Think about if you're a newbie, right? And think about every free agent that's out there, even on the White Sox. They could look over and be like, is it like this all the time? Because this is new for them. They didn't play here. A lot of these guys have never seen PNC. Beautiful backdrop. They're going to see the intensity, hopefully, with this of Boston or more. It'd be incredible.
And dude, I mean, like I know this is getting way down the road, but that's okay. That's what we do here. It's a podcast.
We dream, right?
Let's say this works out for it. Let's say they play an exciting brand of baseball, and I'm not talking about playoffs or anything like that. Let's say they create an atmosphere, a culture, get fans involved, give people reason to get excited. Like all of a sudden, Pittsburgh's not that hard of a sell, because if they do that, it's going to be predicated on young kids contributing. It already has been. It could be predicated on having a bullpen that preserves leads, having good starting pitching. We've seen those things. It could
letting the guy go into the 7th like they did today.
Right. You got a guy like G1 Bay running things down in center field. You think pitchers don't like that? Keep Brian Hayes playing third. There's just a lot of things here.
Can I confess something to you real quick?
Yep.
I didn't want to say it. When you were saying the talk of the town and everything else, I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about Bay. We're going to talk about Bay. I was like, oh yeah. Reynolds was probably the big talk of the town, the national story. I'm like, that's why I'm not a writer. Not a writer.
Oh man. I mean, that catch was absolutely incredible. I don't know. There are very few better than that, but I mean, for me, and I'll get back to the Reynolds story in a second, but I think this can become such a visibly attractive place to play, and at the center of it are guys like Kutch, maybe Carlos Santana. But to me, there's just such an aura of legitimacy around this team that hasn't existed in the past. They know how to handle this. Even the games in Cincinnati, I've been in the Pirates clubhouse after crappy losses, and it's like everybody's looking around like, oh my God.
It's like it's literally like
hurt us again, are they?
It's like you're the Grim Reaper when you walk in, is what it's like.
Yeah. And you walked in there, it wasn't any big thing. We lost the game. Yeah, we'll just shower off, fix it, adjust, and come back tomorrow. Okay, cool. It's just, it wasn't any big thing. You've Rich Hill in the corner saying
exactly.
I wasn't any good. That's not good enough. That's not acceptable. I locked it in, whatever. I don't care. And
then turns it right around and talks about winning the series.
Right.
I literally jumped out of my chair. Yeah. And I was like, that's it, man. He was like, I didn't come here to go out there, pitch 5 innings and, pitch okay. I came out here to win.
Yep.
And Santana too, they keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And they believe it. You could talk to Kutch right now and you could never convince them that they couldn't win the World Series. And that's the guys you want to be around you, especially guys that have been around the league for over a decade. It's outstanding stuff. You're exactly right. And the ownership, you brought that up to me with Rich Hill and owning everything, even when it's really not your fault, he's going to take the blame. And that's the epitome of a great leader.
Yep. And so anyway, to circle that back to Reynolds, I've investigated this as I've been, trying to tap into means for information for a long time. But, I'm looking through my texts right now. And yesterday I'm walking out of the ballpark at about 11:30 and I text, maybe because he's playing well, but man, Reynolds sure seems more relaxed than he's been. And I get back, nothing has changed, and I've gone on both sides. I'm not revealing who that's from, but I'm just saying that I've taken a similar sentiment to both sides, multiple days, everything since things have broken down on opening day. On Friday, the off day in Cincinnati, my phone was ringing constantly with both sides trying to explain to me why this doesn't make sense and why this does this. And this is why we think this. And this is where things stand. I couldn't stop getting information. Now I can't start. What the heck happened? You know what I mean? To me,
so something happened.
Something happened. Somebody turned off the spigot. And I don't think it's because screw this, we're done. We're not talking anymore. That would be if I believed Brian didn't want to be in Pittsburgh. I would think that that's what happens. I believe Brian wants to be in Pittsburgh. So what that tells me is, okay, you're at a sticking point, right? The organization doesn't want the opt-out. Reynolds wants the opt-out or whatever. You need to have conversations. You need to have more conversations about it. You need to figure out where you can meet in the middle on it. Because if the player wants to be here and the organization wants the player, what are we doing here? And my suspicion is sort of like what you're saying, Fort. They're shutting everybody out. We're not benefiting by having this, crap trickle out.
But they did try to play
what
you need to go into that a little bit, because I don't think people get exactly how it goes. They're trying to play devil's advocate on both sides. Like, this is the narrative. This is the narrative. This is the narrative. You ask a very, intellectual question because you want to create what is the divide here. And I want to make sure both sides have equal representation. So I create a great story and tell the truth, right? It's exactly what you're trying to do. But both sides are trying to make it come out. Yeah, please. Because when you did that, I was like, how many times I saw that right in front of my face, and I just wish to be like, that's not true. That's just a optical illusion.
So there's a scary underbelly of journalism I'm going to go into here for a little bit. In a way that I believe you should do this job, and you can say I'm wrong if you want to. I don't think you will. For maybe some people will.
Honestly, Mackie, I got to tell you the truth. Like, I've gotten to know you a lot better. I knew you a little bit. I could not respect you more for the way you go about everything. Even when you call and ask me questions, it's not like pick. Give me the information. Like, we have a genuine conversation, and it's like neither one of us will ever overstep. We're never going to put each other in harm's way because our ethics and our morals and our standards are so high. And we actually care about human beings, right? Yeah. We care about, portraying the human being in the right way. And I got to tell you, Becky, you're top notch. And I didn't, plan on saying any of this, but you need to know, like, you're super good at your job. You do it the right way. And whether I was a player or an analyst, like, I would tell everybody on the planet, if you want to talk to somebody about anything, talk to Mackie.
Well, thank you. I mean, the check's in the mail, by the way. I don't know if you
extra zero, please.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so when you're covering something like this is the way I look at it, and I've told both parties this, and by and large they pretty much understand. But there are some breakdowns that I'll get to. So my philosophy on this is I will listen to the team tell me whatever the team wants to tell me. Like, but I want to talk, I want context, I want to hear what you're thinking, I want to listen. I'm not going to take that and just spew it into Twitter or post-gazette.com or whatever I'm doing. Like, that's bad journalism. I want to listen to Reynolds' side. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear what context matters for them. I want to hear what's going on as much as possible. And I'm not going to take their stuff and just spew it and parrot it. Too often in journalism today, you have people who are so in a hurry to put crap out there and get things. I got to be first. I got to do this. This will help me if I do this. And they go and throw it out there and try to just, it's not right. It's not complete. It's
not complete. That's amazing how you said that. It's not complete, because part of it probably is true, but it not being complete, it's false.
And my theory in doing this is I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen. Let me use it over here. I'm going to listen to this side. I'm going to listen to that side. And then I'm going to, like, cut it down the middle and hopefully use my own brain and some analytical thought and figure out what makes sense. How do I feel about this? What sort of things can I analyze? That should be the overriding factor. But even if you cut it 33%, and I don't know what the extra one would go to, but I mean, that's the basic idea, and you're covering one of these things. Like, I hope it's not slanted, and I wrote what I wrote about, like, where negotiations stand. And when I'm writing that story, I'm thinking, I want to explain what is important to the team and why they think, or why they might think the way that they think. I want to write what's important to Brian, his camp, why they think what they might think, what they think, that sort of deal. And so, I don't know. I just feel like we kind of lose that. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of phone calls. By the end of it, like, I'm a socially awkward introvert. I'm generally burned out on talking to people, but, like, that's the job, man. Like, that's what we signed up for. You need to do that. And then, it does drive me crazy when, like, there's people on the outside just, like, leveling opinions, or this is what I think, or this is what's happening. Like, You had no conversations with anybody actually involved about the context here. I get, and I guess I get it. Because somebody like me writing some sort of criticism about baseball is on the same level, right? Like you guys spend your entire lives doing this. I sit up on my ass in the press box and then I write something that theoretically could criticize somebody who spends their life doing this. Like, that's not fair. That's ridiculous. But
it's the job. It's the job as a player.
It's the job, but I'm a firm believer that it should be backed by facts, numbers, truth, reality, reporting, like that sort of thing. Like
and you show up every day.
Yeah. I've never met a player. I've never met a player, Ford, in a decent time doing this, 2 different sports, who's gotten mad over facts.
Yeah, like I know when I suck, and you're supposed to write it, right? And like there's always more context to it. Like I got destroyed when I was with Rod Barras. I'll never forget this, by the media, because we weren't throwing anybody out. But the analytics said we didn't throw anybody out when Doman was there, and he had a bazooka, right? It didn't translate. And if I told everybody besides Jeff Bannister I had a torn labrum, like maybe that would have had some context, but I wanted to play, and nobody ever asked
that.
It's just one of those things. It's like, you just keep going. Did I think about it? Absolutely. I went out every day for 3.5 months, throwing to second base, third base, trying to get faster with my feet because my arm wasn't working well. And I couldn't feel it most days. But like that story would be broke now, but it would never have been broke then because it was just cut and dry. Now there's so much information. Like, oh, wow. In the minor leagues, he was 83 to 86, 87 at times down to second base. Now he's throwing 80 poo, maybe. They would be like, something's wrong. And a guy like you would dig into that, right? Yeah. Why did you throw out 42% in the minor or 40% in the minor leagues your entire career?
But I'm not find that out if you don't tell me.
I would. But like the thing is like there's a difference when you ask intelligent questions with no formed opinion until you gather the information. That's the difference. And a lot of people will form their opinion and never come around and never ask. And that's the big thing. I remember Stan Savran saying that is one of the funny stories. I don't know if it was Elway. I don't know who it was. One of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He just destroyed and walked in there. Dude came up and gave him a hug. It says, about time somebody told me I played like crap. Like I didn't know.
That's beautiful.
And then that's the reality. We know. And some guys are going to get sensitive just because they're sensitive. But that's the job. When you play terrible, you own it, you move on, you get better. But you have to answer the questions. Like I'm really excited that this year we have veterans around that, if they play bad or if they don't want to answer something, those guys are probably going to make them because it's just going to make them better. It's not that they, need to face some like thing that they don't want to face. I don't know. It's just, there's something about being in front of someone, owning it, taking responsibility, and just moving forward. Yep. I think that's really, really important. So keep it up.
I tell a hockey-related story. Patrick Hornquist. A lot of people listening to this probably know who Patrick Hornquist is. Mm-hmm. So we would go to Sid and Gino a lot after losses, and for obvious reasons, right? Like they're the two-headed monster and whatever. And Hornquist was the consummate team guy. Like I would have loved to play any sport with Hornquist, but you get in the dressing room and he's got his like shirt ripped. He's all mad and jacked up. They lose. He goes, "Come to me. You come to me. Don't you always go to those two? Come to me." And I can't do the Swedish accent, but like
it's pretty good.
So fiery. And like that's what you need the baseball version of that. You need Carlos Santana sitting at his locker saying what he said in Cincinnati. Rich Hill sitting at his locker saying what he said in Cincinnati. Where like things didn't go well, but we're just calmly explaining. It's not acceptable. That's not the standard here. And we're going to move on. We're going to go get them tomorrow. Like, baseball's not the sport where you have your shirt ripped off and you're screaming at people. Like that's just, it's a non-contact sport. But, the standard set by some of these guys has really been something. It's fun, man.
I'm a true believer. If you want something to change the standards.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. And I like it. And I think you do that in writing. So keep it up.
Cool. So what do you think about Friday, man?
You just don't like taking compliments. It's
no, I don't at all.
Yeah, I could tell. It's like, oh, he's sweating in his palms. He doesn't like it.
Bro, I don't know. I do not.
That's
I do
okay.
not want to talk about me. So, okay, here's a funny story though. Whenever we meet people like Abby, my wife, and I, somebody will like inevitably recognize me or whatever, and it always kills Abby if we talk to another couple or anybody we met. Like, I'm not telling them what I do. I'm not telling them where I
I'm the
work.
same way. I'm the
Who I
same way.
know. Never. If they recognize me, we will talk, and I'll talk ball or journalism or anything with anybody for as long as they want to. It's never an I'm being mean thing, but I don't have that speed where I need to like tell people about me or be showy or anything. Like I am so unbelievably awkward and like uncomfortable in those settings where I've been singled out. But
well, you have the awkward thing. I tell people I work for AT&T, and legitimately, if they have no clue, they're like, "Oh, okay, telecom, huh? Playing with phones every day, huh?" That's
really?
what they think. Yeah, and I run with it. I have a blast. Oh yeah, because I work for AT&T. Never say Sportsnet, never say Pirates, and then every now and then, especially here, like someone will like inevitably be like looking at me, turn their head, like he's not. Who is that? And they'd be like, "You look familiar." That's what I get all the time. It's never. Sometimes if they know who I am, it's yell the fort. But like you look familiar. I'm like, I've been told that a lot. And I just always do it. It's fun. And they're like, Are you that analyst? Are you that catcher? I'm like,
Are you Wes Welker?
I got that before.
Oh my God, are you Wes Welker?
We'll get into that story a couple different ways. Yeah. Awesome stuff. But I do want to like think something through with this team. I think, and I'm going to use Rob King's like statement over and over again. Once he saw the light that I saw, he goes, "Man, a good month, this team could really take off."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you right now, if you look back at 2011, 2012, 2013, obviously was the golden year. We're in between 12 and 13 right now because the talent level is so much higher.
Yeah.
And I think the fans need to understand that. Like, there is going to be some times where it's like, oh man, this is terrible. How did he not make that throw? Like, we saw Cruz throw a 180-mile-an-hour Scud missile to Santana, but Santana didn't move. He would have let that thing hit him in the face and caught it with his teeth. And I think that's what's different about this team is like every day they're going to fight and claw, which we've heard over and over and over again, but they're not going to dwell. They all feel like there's somebody behind them just nipping at their ankles, because there is. And I go back to some of the best players and some of the best stories of guys like Clemente, for example, would walk over to the minor league side and remind him that there's people trying to take his job, take food off his family's table day in and day out. Well, now you can look in AAA and say, wow.
Yep.
Thunderbolts and bushes everywhere. We got to play. And they came together somehow. There wasn't this divide like you're talking about the locker room. In spring training when I was there, the camaraderie and the like brotherhood that was already being shaped is something I hadn't seen in that locker room since maybe 18. There was a lot of it before the big trade nobody liked, but like not since, not even a little bit. And now we got it. That's when special things happen for me.
This is going to go not over your head, but I mean, you've heard it, you've lived it. This isn't going to be breaking news to you. It's a little new to me because I didn't cover him. And so this is the first time I've really seen and observed Andrew McCutchen. He is one of the coolest people I have ever been around. Mm-hmm. And that sounds a little bit of a compliment, and it is, but it's also insight into why I think the Pirates are where they are. Like, have you ever been around somebody?
Well, think about Brian Reynolds. When has he ever had an MVP hit behind him?
Right.
Like, I'm not saying Kutch is everything that's happening right now. I do think he signed the contract. I do think weight's off his shoulder, but he also has a guy that signed a big contract here that's right behind him, and he wants Reynolds to succeed. I was texting with him before he got on. I mean, he loves these guys, and that's the difference. When he went over and gave Bay a high five in center field, like he literally ran to left center. I said, people are getting to see the Kutch I've always known. It's just he didn't always come out like that, right? He was very similar to what you said. He was an introvert, but dude, there was this giant extrovert. We've all seen Uncle Larry, but like there's giant extrovert when you got him out, and he's the funniest, most talented dude you'll ever meet. And we're going to get to see that part of it, but also a guy that tore his ACL, that struggled, that played on a bunch of different teams, dove into everything. So his perspective has completely changed, and he's become almost like a little bit of a Yoda from MVP.
Oh, he's team dad. He's team dad.
But I thought Rich Hill is Rich Hill.
I mean, he's more on the pitching side.
Maybe Grandpa though. Maybe.
No,
we'll call him Pappy. Pappy. I like Pappy.
Yeah. All right, that's fine.
Pappy Hill.
I mean, like, okay, like Kutch is absolutely one of the parents in the room. It's just like he's one of those parents that is just extraordinarily cool. You know, and like you can't. Reynolds isn't. He's never going to be like that. And like Reynolds' role on the team is awesome. Like you're just the guy. Oh yeah, hit home runs. I'm run real far. You know, like he's gonna like drop some cool, sarcastic things, and he's got this dry sense of humor. He's a really good dude. Like Brian's one of my favorite people in there. It's the furthest thing from ripping on him, but like he's not the voice of the team. Isn't going to be the voice of the team. He isn't going to be the guy that sort of like brings everybody out and instills a bit of a swagger in them, which I think Kutch has done. You know, I didn't realize G-Man Choi, and like, I don't agree with having him on the roster from a baseball perspective. I just don't think it works. I really like him from a personality perspective. Like, he's just a goofball. He's an absolute goof. Like G1 Bay the other night hits the home run as the catch, you know, and I'm standing next to Choi. He's got his phone in the interview in the scrum, just like laughing his butt off. Man, you know, the number of times that dude's just like randomly screaming things in a clubhouse, you know, even like messing with me. You know, it's great. It's hilarious. Like the dude is constantly on. And the mix of personalities they have in there right now is so fun. In which I'm going to take this to a conversation I was having with another writer today, and Alex Stumpf of DK Pittsburgh Sports. We're the ones that traditionally travel all the time. And we're talking about what a quality beat this is going to be when they do figure it out, meaning like fertile ground for stories, meaning like good dudes, good people, good talkers, interesting, playing a brand of ball people are going to get behind. Like I knew we were going to get there. I didn't know it was going to be this soon. But my God, Ford, if they figure this out and they're good and interesting the way that Rob King was talking about, this summer is going to be nuts, like in the best way possible.
Yeah, I'm going to be bullish. I've been bullish on this since we started this thing. They're better than everyone thinks. And I know you feel the same way. Yes. Do things have to go right? Are they all in? No. But are they close enough to where we could see a fast, incredibly fast shift? Yes. Yes. I mean, you could see some lightning fast moves within a couple months. Indy Rodriguez here, Priester throwing, Ortiz throwing, and seeing just all this stuff coming together all at once. Obviously, not having JT Brubaker, but he's definitely, I think, a part of the future still.
Yeah.
Even if he has to have surgery, doesn't have surgery, we don't know anything right now. We're just waiting. But, like, that's the reality, right?
Fort, what do you think? You put Brew in the bullpen?
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to prior to this year. And the reason is, and I'm going to use the witch, Blake Tehron. Is that right? Did I say that right? Tehron with LA.
Oh, Tryon.
I always get it wrong. I always forget his last name. I see Brubaker. Yeah. I mean, 97, 98, I think he'll throw out. I think it'll be better for his arm. He's built wiry, and then he can focus on two pitches. I do love the work he did, and that's the give and take, Mackie, with this pitch design era. And the organization's doing a great job. They had guys go in December, and they have 5 different buckets, and they say, all right, your pitch design bucket. Hey, your tempo bucket. Hey, you need to lose weight bucket, whatever it is. But like, you have to train for that. And the old regime had these guys starting throwing usually around November, just playing catch, not really throwing a bullpen until maybe January and building up very slow. Well, you can't pitch design that way. You have to throw a ton. And that's one reason some guys that have never done that, and they do it later in their career, they haven't built a stamina, an engine for that. So JT Brubaker, no clue where he's at, but like whether he comes back this year or next year, I think what he learns, the adversity and the willingness, I think he'll have to go to the bullpen. You have another Holderman, in my opinion. But completely different movement. Like Holderman's got this weird down angle sinker, and you have Brubaker, it goes across and across. Now you're starting to talk about some really fun things and guys that have had success. You know, there's one thing I wanted to ask you. It's a theory I have. I know we're over an hour, but we're on a roll. I believe that you try to create average skills based around elite skills with guys. So if you have an elite fastball, and I'm going somewhere with this, to Oviedo, I'm confused with him and where they're going with him, because everybody talks about how his fastball plays, right? Well, he has an extension at 97 percentile. So he's at 7-1 extension. So he's releasing the ball closer than 97%.
I'll pull you out of the weeds. I'm going to pull you out of the weeds.
Please, because we talked about that, and I told you my feelings about it. He has a lot of elite stuff going on. Even if he has an average fastball, him running away from it as much as he is, and the fact that he has that type of extension, and to put that perspective for anyone listening, that means 97's like 103, 104. So take it away. What do you got?
I knew where this was going. We've had this
it's just like
conversation
whether it's a sinker.
I want you to give a more abbreviated version. I appreciate, like, in a way that you don't understand, how your detailed version and your nerdiness with this.
Yeah. I won't get in the weeds, but like, that being said, that's why you look at like this team and you see what Contreras did in his start. You know pretty much what you're going to get out of Rich Hill. I feel like Vince Velasquez is still a question mark to all the things they're trying to do. But you start to see a light, because you're like, oh, this is getting really predictable. Like Key Bryan, no, if he doesn't ever hit the way we think he can hit, they will still get a bargain at the end of the day for $80 million with his defense. He can. He will. I think he will. I do.
He's in there.
I do. I think he can carry a team at certain points. We've seen him do it, but like, I really believe it. And I think the pressure will be pulled off of him. And the fact he did what he did today is a result of, I'm signed, I'm not chasing anything. A lot of guys will do things different once they feel that comfort, because they're not chasing the OPS, big numbers, big fly, and everything else. He's like, man, I don't feel good at the plate. His takes weren't good. And he saw an opportunity to still run, and he ended up getting a hit out of it. And that builds confidence. And I think he's understanding that because he's so cerebral. When you start seeing all this stuff come together, predictable players mixed with elite players, obviously Cruz is an absolute freak. I don't even know if he's from this planet. I think he's from somewhere where Thor was born. I can't think of the Asgard. That's what it is. He's from Asgard. I decided. But like, you start putting this stuff together, it gets really cool. And I think that's how they're trying to build their roster, because I keep seeing answers to questions that people were asking, like Swaggerty, right? Bay makes sense now, right? I didn't know how athletic he was in center field, but the trust they have in him on day one, on that first win, he's the guy that goes into defensive replace in center field.
Yep.
That's a different animal. And the trust, obviously, like you were talking about, it seems like the staff has with these guys is another element that's just unreal to me right now. It gets me really excited, Mackie.
Same.
It feels really good, because it's so different than so many years I've seen in so many different places.
I know. One of the things I had to write for our opening day home opener preview rollout is a column. And the theme of my column is when I switched over from hockey to baseball. That's exactly why I did it. Played baseball my entire life. I love it. It's my favorite sport. I was covering hockey, doing really well. Penguins won the Stanley Cup. People thought I was nuts. So you want to leave that to go cover the Pirates? What's wrong with you? Like, people thought I got demoted. They thought I did something wrong at the Post-Gazette, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to banish Mackey, put him over on baseball." Like, no, I asked for it. I asked for it because I thought, like, what this could be if they got good. And I firmly believe that. This is such an amazing baseball town, as you found out, for it. And, you know, they're very close. Not very close. Like, I think they're on the path of getting this figured out. And my God, when they do, is it going to be fun? And the group that they're doing it with. And we're just, you know, we saw a taste. I don't think that because they started 4-2, this means everything is better. Like, I just mean, you can watch them and see the brand of baseball they're playing, the confidence they have, the ability they have. And unless a meteor strikes that clubhouse, like, they should be able to do something pretty decent here.
Unless it's like a Marvel movie, right?
Yeah,
meteor strike
ability.
or O'Neal Cruz's. Maybe that's how he got here.
Maybe. Yeah. Or if 26 guys fall down the Springfield mystery hole, to make a Simpsons reference, I don't know. But as of now,
they predict the future, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, the future is we are going to be at PNC Park on Friday. I think I'll be probably walking around or stopping by the fan booth or something. So if anybody sees me, I'll be the awkward looking tall guy. You know what I look like, and you'll know what Fort looks like because the fans will be congregating around him asking for autographs, and he'll be kissing babies and posing for pictures. So
that's not true.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
It really is. I'm looking forward to opening day. I'll come find you, and I'm excited. Any guess on the velocity AJ Burnett brings? Because he's going to go out. There's rumor had it. Todd Tomzik said, "Hey, if AJ kind of mentioned that maybe he wanted to warm up in the bullpen, you good?" I said,
"Really?
If he wants to, I will come suited up, ready to go, and they can figure out the pregame show." He's getting it. So,
dude,
any predictions?
I'm gonna go. AJ brings it 78.
78. Is that the breaking ball or the heater?
Heater.
Yeah, I think so too.
AJ doesn't try. He goes a little firm, but doesn't try to go nuts.
Or does he throw it at somebody like the truck? Remember the truck in Miami?
Yeah. You know what? 78 seems real heavy. He might just go with style and like loop one in there, man. I mean, he's not going to bounce it. He's going to throw a strike. I'm confident in that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go firm.
I'll be interested to see. I'm trying to talk him into throwing a breaking ball.
Yeah. Well,
we always had a contest.
But he's going to throw for a strike.
No. So we had a thing.
AJ's throwing many breaking balls these days.
We had a thing, me and Russell with AJ. We said, "Hey, if you get it by us, we got the steak."
Really?
So we challenged him to throw it by us. And because he always wanted to get by us, and that kept him in that mindset to just absolutely get nasty psychologically and the psychology mind of it. But like, it was a running joke. So like, we took a lot of pride in keeping it in front of us, and he took a lot of pride in throwing the nastiest breaker he could ever throw. So I want him to do that. And I guarantee you Russ's mind will just go, "All right, dink," and just stop it. It'd be awesome. And I'd probably run down and give him a chest
equipment. Probably, nice pants and a super.
Well, I take that back. I would probably block it. He had incredible hands. He'd probably just pick it. Like, I got it.
All right.
So
those former infielder hands.
Yeah, he tried so hard to play shortstop every single year. It was great. Every year, it's great.
Beautiful.
It is.
All right, man. That does it for this episode. Thank you guys, as always, for watching, listening to Pitching In. Check us out, Apple Podcasts. For Michael McKenry, I'm Jason Mackey. We'll talk to you next week.